So, this is Synergy. There were a fair few flaws in Mark II and 2.5 of my 150-gram ant-weight combination lifter-hammer saw, which first competed about a year ago now. But we did achieve our desired flip and strike precisely once, which was pretty nice. Looking at the list of failures, it seems Synergy is due for almost a full redesign. Third time's the charm, right? Despite making slight changes to Mark II and competing at Royale in December of last year, electrical issues forced a forfeit against Chlorophyll, and after meeting DES in the arena, the only thing Mark 2.5 was winning that day was the most damaged award. Despite having a lifter and more rigid 64D chassis, more durable polycarb lids, a higher torque lifter motor, and having removed a seemingly unnecessary armor mount for weight savings, the core design still retains flaws. Mainly, the lifter and hammer arms skip gear teeth inconsistently while also blocking one another's path, so that they occasionally swap places when you run them into each other and can't swap back. Another byproduct of this is that vertical spinners can run up my forks that, might I add, aren't ground scraping, and clip the connecting arm, forcing the lifter out of the way and backdriving the motor, exposing the 1mm wall behind it, protecting the electronics. These can be solved by undergoing a significant restructure to have the arms in line with one another, with hinged polycarbonate forks and rigid ABS pieces embedded in the gears during printing to limit the gear skipping. The lids should be held down in more than two corners to prevent them flexing and ejecting the battery. The armor mounts need to be beefed up, and the robot as a whole is both hard to drive straight and control all the weapons. Some of this should be helped along by squaring up the drive base a bit more, switching transmitters to the Radio Master Zorro, with an array of more easily accessible shoulder dials, switches, and buttons, and just more practice on the sticks. Additionally, I'd like to actually get the color scheme going properly this time. Although the Wranglebox N10s for lightweight drive and the previous weapon stack could be carried over, the fourth brushed ESC, external to the Llama Forge boards, previously from DF Robot, was extremely sluggish and looking back is likely a big part of my first horizontal spinner's terrible drive system. That's been swapped out for the Bristol Bot Builder's Red ESC. The arms being in line with one another lifts the tight space requirements, which forced us to have custom axles turned for them, and while we're at it, the shaft collars can be done away with as they easily fell off in combat. The design process was pretty simple, but what I would like to point out is the practically luxurious amount of space up the front for the battery plug, as well as the air and infill armor printed with a modifier for zero top and bottom layers, inspired by Knuckle Sandwich for maximum weight savings. While I attempted a printed nylon chassis for greater weight savings, I immediately began flexing the part right off the print bed, which delaminated just about every layer. Some more experimentation needed there. With the lifter forks needing to cover the entire length of the chassis and then some, TPU's flexibility was not going to cut it. With no weight for thin titanium, polycarbonate was chosen, which was previously served to Rive and hex switch well as forks, although Dead Cat Bounce has given mine a trim previously. Any spare weight in future would probably be invested into tie. The chassis and arms were printed from 64D in an attempt to avoid the chassis sagging, while the armor, with more material around the mounting bolts, was printed out of orange and blue 95A by Hayden and Jordan respectively. New carbon fiber was provided by James. Thanks again to PCBWay, who provided these blue and orange anodized 7075 aluminium hubs that slipped right onto the 1404 motor. In order to actually be able to swap blades without removing the arm, some minor adjustments to my original mistaken design were required, but the parts remain fit for purpose and have stood up to the abuse well, being basically the most reliable system in the bot and ripping through test dummies. Pushing through the burns and the finagling of the minuscule wiring, Synergy Mark III was finally assembled and ready for testing. The arms are finally consistent and everything worked well enough, with the main issue being figuring out how to mix the channels correctly. With that, it's off to Royale 4. This had over 50 competitors, by far the most competitors at a Sydney event yet. Unfortunately, the night before in testing, the Llama Forge board carked it, with the other spares I had on hand either being already dead ones that I forgot to throw away, or ones from a known bad batch of boards, leaving me ending the night rejigging the wiring to accept my single spare Mk3 board amongst a pile of 5 or 6 dead ones. Having not done testing after the soldering, Synergy turned out to be non-functional on the day, joining the second rounds draw against Blackout, a new bot and builder with the giant aluminium vertical disc and 360-degree lifter self-right mechanism made out of an Allen key.
Starting the fight in 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh my god, that's the Allen key. Oh, that's one of the two.
Can you move? You gotta start counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. Blackout's your winner for that first fight.
Although Blackout immediately inverted on weapon spin-up torque, and I think operated the lifter in the wrong direction, the drive on Synergy didn't appear to be mixed correctly, and upon attempting to spin up, the entire bot browned out. After much troubleshooting, including with help from Glenn, it seemed whatever was wrong had also killed that final control board, leaving me unable to advance. Although a very anticlimactic first and thus far only fight for Synergy Mk3, I retain faith in the design and its improvements, although I'm kinda done with the infuriating wiring, so it has been retired as is, but may return later, perhaps under more forgiving weight allowances. Thanks, and see ya.